I carried my last box through the dorm hallway, hopping for a quiet year. Independence was all I wanted, no drama, no complications, just me and my books. But when I pushed open the door to room 304, my stomach dropped. Jiang Rui stood there unpacking his things with military precision. I knew him, everyone knew him. Campus golden boy, perfect grades, perfect face, perfect everything. He looked up and his expression didn't change. Cold, distant. "You must be Wen," he said, extending a hand. His grip was firm, controlled. I nodded, suddenly aware of how messy my hair was. "I keep my side organized," he continued, gesturing to his half of the room. "I'd appreciate the same from you." Polite words, but something felt hollow beneath them, like he was reading from a script. That night while he showered, I noticed something odd. A corner of fabric peeked from under his pillow. Curiosity won. I lifted it carefully and froze. A military medal lay hidden there, its ribbon frayed, but what made my breath catch was the dark stain on one corner. It looked like dried blood. I quickly replaced the pillow and stepped back, heart pounding. "What was that about?" Rui returned, towel around his neck, and caught me staring at his bed. "Something wrong?" he asked. "No," I said too quickly. "Just admiring how neat you keep things." He didn't smile. "Habit." Over the next few days I tried to act normal, but I couldn't stop watching him. The way he moved with precise control, how his jaw tightened when someone got too loud in the hallway. How he never really laughed, just offered polite smiles that never reached his eyes. Then I caught myself staring at him during breakfast one morning, really staring. At the curve of his neck, the way morning light caught his profile. I looked away fast, face burning. This wasn't new, I realized with a sinking feeling. I'd noticed Jiang Rui long before we became roommates. Watched him from across campus, told myself it was just admiration. But sharing a room with him made it impossible to lie anymore. I liked him, had liked him for months, and now I was stuck living with someone I could never have. A week later, voices erupted in the hallway outside our room. I recognized Rui's low tone, then a girl's voice, sharp and angry. I crept closer to the door. "You're impossible to reach," she said. "I try, May," Rui replied, sounding tired. "You don't try hard enough. You're emotionally unavailable, Rui. It's like living with a statue." Silence, then footsteps. The door opened and Rui walked in, shoulders tense. He didn't look at me, just sat on his bed and stared at the wall. I pretended to read, but the silence felt suffocating. Finally, he spoke. "Do you think I'm hard to love?" The question hit me like a punch. I looked up, and for the first time I saw something vulnerable in his eyes, something broken. I don't think that's true," I said carefully. He studied my face for a long moment, as if searching for a lie. "Everyone seems to think so. Maybe they're just looking for the wrong things," I said. He blinked, surprised. Then something flickered across his face, relief maybe, or hope, but it vanished as quickly as it came. 2 days later, Rui's phone rang during dinner. He glanced at the screen and his whole body went rigid. "I need to take this," he muttered, stepping into the hallway. I heard his voice through the thin door, tight and formal. "Yes, father, yes, I'm maintaining my grades, top of the class. Yes, she's fine, we're fine. No, father, I haven't." A long pause. "I understand, I won't disappoint you again." When he came back, his face was pale, jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth might crack. He sat down heavily. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine," but his hands shook slightly as he picked up his chopsticks. "My father just has high expectations. Sounds intense, you have no idea." He looked at me, then really looked at me. "Perfect grades, perfect girlfriend, perfect reputation, that's what he expects, what he demands. That's a lot of pressure." He gave a bitter smile. "Pressure I can't escape." Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "I can't fail again." The way he said "again" made me wonder what had happened before. What failure haunted him so badly? The next afternoon, I returned from class to find May in our room. She sat on Rui's bed, legs crossed, smiling at me in a way that felt calculated. "You must be Wen," she said sweetly. "Rui's told me about you." "Has he?" I set my bag down, uncomfortable. "All good things, I hope." She laughed, standing up and moving closer, too close. "You're cuter than I expected." I froze. What was happening? Thanks, May." Rui's voice came from the doorway, sharp. "What are you doing?" "Just getting to know your roommate," she said innocently. "Since you talk about him so much." Something passed between them, a tension I didn't understand. Rui crossed the room in 3 steps and took her arm. "We should go." But as he guided her toward the door, he looked back at me. Our eyes met and held. There was something in his gaze, an apology maybe, or a plea. It lasted only a second, but I felt it in my chest like a physical weight. Then they were gone, and I stood alone, wondering why my heart was racing. The following evening, I accidentally knocked over Rui's tea while reaching for my phone. The liquid spread across his desk, soaking his perfectly organized notes. I grabbed tissues immediately, but Rui's hand shot out and gripped my wrist. "Hard. Do you have any idea how long it took me to write those?" His voice was low, dangerous. I'd never heard that tone from him before. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean." "You never mean to." He released me abruptly and started salvaging his papers with quick, precise movements. "You just do whatever you want without thinking about consequences. It was an accident. Everything with you is an accident." His eyes were cold, but behind that coldness was something else, something almost frantic. "This is my life, when my grades, my future. I can't afford your carelessness." The words stung more than they should have. "Maybe I shouldn't have moved in here," I said quietly. He froze, then turned to face me fully. "If you can't handle me, maybe you shouldn't be here." The silence that followed was crushing. Then he grabbed his jacket and left. I stood there, shaking, unsure if I was terrified or fascinated by what I'd just seen. Next day, Rui came home with groceries. "We should cook," he said stiffly. "I'm sorry about yesterday, let me make it up to you." I nodded, surprised. We worked in awkward silence, chopping vegetables side by side in the tiny dorm kitchenette. I reached for the knife at the same moment he did. Our hands brushed. It was nothing, just skin on skin for half a second, but Rui jerked back like he'd been burned. The knife clattered to the counter. "Sorry," he said quickly, not looking at me. I need to wash my hands." He disappeared into the bathroom. I stood there staring at my own hand, still feeling the ghost of his touch. My heart was doing something strange, beating too fast, too loud. When he returned, we finished cooking without speaking, but something had shifted. The air felt charged, electric, and when I caught him glancing at me from the corner of his eye, I felt an inexplicable thrill run through me. Something was happening between us, something neither of us knew how to name. 3 weeks later, the power went out across campus, then across the entire city. I sat in darkness, phone dying, anxiety building. Rui was supposed to be at a study group. Hours passed, then midnight, then 2 in the morning. I was about to call campus security when the door burst open. Rui stumbled in and my stomach dropped. He was drunk, I could smell it from across the room. But worse, there was blood on his shirt, a cut above his eye, and his hands were shaking. Rui. I fumbled for my phone's flashlight. "What happened?" "I'm fine," he slurred, but he wasn't fine, he was terrified. His eyes were wide, unfocused. "Just don't tell anyone, please." He swayed and I caught him before he fell. "We need to get you to a hospital." "No," he grabbed my shirt with surprising strength. "No hospitals, no police, no one can know." "No what?" But he was already sliding down, his weight pulling us both toward the floor. "Please," he whispered, "just help me." I realized then that Rui wasn't just hurt, he was running from something, and I was the only person he'd turn to. I managed to get him onto my bed and found the first aid kit. Under the flashlight's beam, I cleaned the cut above his eye. He winced but didn't pull away. "This might sting," I warned, applying antiseptic. "I can handle it," but his voice cracked. As I worked, he leaned against me, head resting near my shoulder. His breathing slowed, steadied. "You always smell like soap," he murmured. "Clean, safe." "Rui, what happened tonight?" He was quiet for so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. "Then why do you always feel safer than everyone else?" The question hit me in the chest. I stopped moving, hand frozen mid-motion. "What do you mean?" He lifted his head slightly and our faces were suddenly inches apart. His eyes focused on mine with startling clarity despite the alcohol. "Everyone wants something from me, everyone expects something, but you." He touched my face with blood-stained fingers. "You just exist like home." Then he kissed me. Soft, tentative tasting of alcohol and desperation. My brain short-circuited. Before I could respond, he collapsed against me, unconscious. I sat there, heart exploding, Rui sleeping in my arms. I woke to sunlight and the weight of someone in my bed. Rui. Memories flooded back, the blood, the fear, the kiss. I held my breath as his eyes opened. Confusion crossed his face as he registered where he was. "Why am I?" He sat up quickly, then groaned and clutched his head. "What happened?" "You came home drunk and hurt last night," I said carefully. "I cleaned you up." His hand went to the bandage above his eye. "Did I say anything?" My heart hammered. "You were pretty out of it." He stared at me and I saw the moment memory returned. His eyes widened slightly and color crept up his neck. His phone buzzed, he grabbed it, read the message, and his expression shuddered completely. "I need to go," he said, standing too quickly. "Rui, we should talk, I have class." He gathered his things with shaking hands, avoiding my eyes. "Thanks for helping me, it won't happen again." Then he was gone, leaving me sitting on a bed that still smelled like him, wondering if I'd imagined the whole thing. But I could still feel his lips on mine. That hadn't been my imagination. Rui didn't come back that night or the next night. His bed stayed perfectly made, untouched. I tried calling, no answer, texted, nothing. On the third day my phone buzzed with an unknown number. "This is May, is Rui with you?" My stomach twisted. "No, I haven't seen him in 2 days. "Damn it," she sounded worried. "If he contacts you, tell him to call me. His father's been trying to reach him." "Is he okay?" "I don't know." Her voice softened. "He does this sometimes. Disappears when things get too heavy." She hung up. I sat on my bed, staring at his empty side of the room. Where was he? What was he running from? That evening the door finally opened. Rui walked in, backpack slung over one shoulder, face carefully blank. "Hey," he said as if nothing had happened. "Hey," I stood up. "You've been gone for 2 days. I stayed with a friend. May's been looking for you, your father too." His jaw tight. "I know. Rui, I don't want to talk about it." He turned away, refusing to meet my eyes. And just like that, the wall was back up. The distance between us grew like a physical thing. Rui came home late, left early, avoided eye contact. At meals we ate in silence. It hurt more than I expected. I missed the quiet moments we'd shared before everything got complicated. One night I woke to sounds from his bed, soft murmuring. I stayed still, listening. I can't." He was talking in his sleep. My name on his lips made my chest ache. In the morning he was gone before I woke up. But that night convinced me something was happening to him, something he wouldn't share. I remembered the blood-stained metal, the underground injuries, the way he'd come home terrified. Rui was hiding something big, and if he wouldn't tell me, I'd have to find out myself. I decided then I would uncover his secrets, not to hurt him, but because someone needed to see the truth beneath his perfect facade. Someone needed to care enough to look. And maybe, selfishly, I needed to know if that kiss had meant something, or if I was just another person expecting too much from Jiang Rui. I started paying closer attention. The bruises appeared more frequently now on his knuckles along his jaw, once on his ribs when his shirt rode up. One night I couldn't stay silent anymore. "Rui, where do you go?" He looked up from his laptop. "What? You disappear for hours, you come back hurt, what's going on?" His expression hardened. "It's none of your business, we're roommates, I'm worried." "Don't be, I can't help it," the words burst out. "You're obviously in trouble and you won't let anyone help you." Something broke in his face, the mask slipped. "You want to know?" he said quietly. "Fine, I fight. You, what? Underground matches for money to deal with." He gestured vaguely. "Everything, the pressure from my family, the expectations, all of it. When I fight, I can finally feel something other than fear." I stared at him. "Rui, that's dangerous. I know. You could get seriously hurt or arrested. I know." He looked at me with tired eyes. "But it's the only thing that makes me feel real. Please, don't tell anyone. Especially not my family." Week later, someone knocked on our door during dinner. I opened it to find Chen Wei, a guy I dated briefly last year. "Wei," I said, surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I was in the area, thought I'd say hi." He smiled, leaning against the doorframe. We talked for a few minutes, laughing about old times. I barely noticed Rui behind me until Wei left. I closed the door and turned to find Rui standing rigid, hands clenched into fists. "Who was that?" he asked. "Just an old friend." "Friend?" His voice was sharp. "He was touching your arm, laughing at everything you said." So it looked like more than friendship." I blinked. "Are you jealous?" "No," but his jaw was tight, his eyes dark. "I just don't trust him. You don't even know him. I know his type." He turned away abruptly, grabbed his jacket. "I need air." He left, slamming the door. I stood there, stunned. What just happened? Later that night, I heard him return. Through the darkness, I heard him whisper to himself, "Why does this bother me so much?" I pretended to sleep, but my heart was racing. The next blackout happened 2 weeks later. This time I was ready with candles and flashlights. Rui came home on time, which surprised me. We sat in candlelight, eating instant noodles in silence. Then the silence became comfortable instead of tense. "Thanks for not telling anyone," he said suddenly. "About the fighting. I'm still worried about you." "I know, but worrying about me is dangerous." "Why?" He looked at me across the flickering light. "Because I might start to depend on it." Before I could respond, he stood to adjust a candle. But he stumbled in the darkness and I caught him. Suddenly we were chest to chest, his hands on my shoulders for balance. I could feel his heartbeat, or maybe that was mine. We stayed frozen like that, breathing the same air. Then slowly, deliberately, Rui leaned down and pressed his lips to mine. This time he was sober, this time it was a choice. The kiss was soft, questioning, and it sent electricity through every nerve. But just as I started to respond, he pulled away. "Sorry," he whispered. "I shouldn't have." "Don't apologize." "I need to." He left again, running from what we both felt. After that night, we fell into a strange dance. At school, we avoided each other completely, but at home, the tension was suffocating. One night, I woke at 3 in the morning to use the bathroom. Rui's lamp was on. He lay in bed, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling. "Can't sleep?" I asked. He didn't look at me. "Never can anymore." "Want to talk about it?" "Not really," but he didn't tell me to leave. I sat on the edge of his bed and we stayed in silence. Finally, he spoke. "I shouldn't want this." "Want what?" "You, this, whatever's happening between us." His voice was raw. "My father would disown me, May would be humiliated, my whole life would fall apart." "Rui, but I can't stop thinking about you." He finally turned his head to look at me. "Every day, every night, you're the only thing that feels real anymore." I couldn't breathe. "What are we doing?" I whispered. "I don't know." He reached out and touched my hand just barely. "But I know I shouldn't want it this much." "Maybe what you should want doesn't matter. Maybe what you do want is what matters." He pulled his hand back. "That's a dangerous way to think." Things got harder after that. May started noticing Rui's distance. She appeared at our door more often, watching him with suspicious eyes. One afternoon she stayed for hours and I made an excuse to study at the library. When I returned, Rui looked exhausted. "She knows something's wrong," he said. "Did you tell her?" "No, but she's not stupid." He ran a hand through his hair. "She asked if I still loved her." "What did you say?" "I said what I was supposed to say." He looked at me then, eyes full of guilt and longing. But we both knew I was lying. The next day in class, a classmate made me laugh, just a stupid joke about the professor's tie, but when I got home, Rui was there, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. "You seem happy," he said. "I guess I am." "Good," but something flickered across his face, something dark and possessive. He turned away quickly, but not before I saw it: jealousy. Even though he wouldn't claim me, he hated the idea of anyone else making me happy. That weekend, Rui finally opened up. We sat on the floor, backs against our beds, sharing a bag of chips. "My father was a colonel," he said quietly. "Military family, 3 generations. When I was 6, he told me weak children don't survive in our family. That's cruel." "That was normal." He stared at his hands. "Every mistake meant punishment. Every grade less than perfect meant failure. I learned to be what he wanted because it was safer than being myself." "Is that why you fight, to prove something to him?" "No, I fight to prove something to myself, that I'm more than just his perfect puppet." He looked at me. "Do you know what it's like to wear a mask so long you forget what your real face looks like?" "I'm starting to understand. That's what scares me." His voice dropped. "Because when I'm with you, the mask slips. You make me forget to be perfect. You make me want to be just me." Would that be so bad? I asked. Would you still like me if I were nothing like this, if I was just broken and lost and trying to figure out who I am? I didn't hesitate. I'd like you more. A few nights later, I walked home alone from the library. It was late, streets mostly empty. I didn't notice the man following me until I turned down our street. Footsteps echoed behind me, matching my pace. My heart started racing. I walked faster, so did he. I broke into a run, but he grabbed my arm and yanked me into an alley. Wallet, phone now. His breath reeked of alcohol. I fumbled for my phone, hands shaking. Then suddenly the man was ripped away from me. Rui appeared like a ghost, fury in his eyes. He slammed the man against the wall. Touch him again and I'll kill you. The man tried to fight back, but Rui moved with trained precision. Within seconds, the attacker was on the ground, groaning. Rui pulled out his phone and called the police, his voice cold and controlled, but his hand shook when he reached for me. Are you hurt? No, I'm okay. How did you? I was coming to find you. You were late. The police arrived and took the man away. They needed Rui's statement, so he left with them. I waited at the station, watching him talk to officers with perfect composure. But I knew better now. Inside, he was screaming. That night it rained. Heavy drops hammered against our window while we sat in silence. Rui hadn't spoken since we got home. Thank you, I said finally, for saving me. Don't thank me, I should have been there sooner. You couldn't have known. He turned to me and the raw emotion in his face took my breath away. I'm supposed to protect what matters, that's what I was trained for, and you. He stopped, struggling with the words. I'm what? I whispered. He crossed the space between us in 2 steps. You're everything I'm not supposed to want and everything I can't stop needing. His hand cupped my face. Tell me to stop. I don't want you to stop. He leaned in and I thought this was it. Finally we'd stop running, but at the last second he froze, lips a breath from mine. I can't, he whispered. Not yet. If I kiss you now, really kiss you, I won't be able to pretend anymore, and I'm not ready for what comes after that. He pulled away, leaving me aching. Soon, he promised, just not yet. 2 days later, I was cornered in the campus parking lot by a group of guys from Rui's fighting circuit. Tell your boyfriend to stop showing off, the leader said, shoving me. He's making us all look bad. He's not my. We know about you two. Everyone talks. The perfect Jiang Rui and his little roommate. Before I could respond, Rui appeared. Back off. Or what? The leader sneered. What happened next was brutal and fast. Rui fought with controlled violence, taking down 3 guys in under a minute. But the 4th one had a knife. I screamed as the blade slashed across Rui's arm. He didn't even flinch. He disarmed the attacker and put him on the ground. Campus security arrived and the group scattered. Rui swayed, blood dripping from his arm. I caught him before he fell. Hospital now. No hospitals, he slurred. Rui, please, he looked up at me, eyes unfocused. You don't know how much I've been holding in, how hard it's been to stay away from you. How much it kills me every time I have to pretend you don't mean everything. Then he collapsed in my arms, unconscious. I got Rui home and patched up his arm. The cut wasn't deep enough for stitches, thankfully. He slept through the night on my bed while I kept watch. In the morning he woke confused but grateful. I owe you everything, he said. You don't owe me anything. I do, you keep saving me. That evening we cooked dinner together. The atmosphere felt different, lighter somehow, like we'd crossed some invisible line. Our hands brushed as we chopped vegetables and neither of us pulled away. This is nice, I said. Normal? Yeah, he smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. I like normal with you. As we ate, his foot touched mine under the table, deliberately. Tomorrow, he said quietly, meeting my gaze. Tomorrow I'll tell you everything, everything I've been hiding, everything I want, maybe, definitely, he corrected, and his hand found mine on the table. We stayed like that, fingers intertwined, neither of us wanting to let go. For the first time in weeks, hope bloomed in my chest. Tomorrow felt like a promise, but neither of us knew his parents were planning a surprise visit. The next evening I was reading when Rui came home. He shut the door and leaned against it, looking at me with an intensity that made my heart race. Yeah, he crossed the room slowly. I've been a coward. You're the bravest person I know. Not about this. He sat beside me close enough that our knees touched. Not about you. Rui, I need to tell you something I've known for a while but was too afraid to say. My breath caught. What? I liked you before we became roommates. I saw you in the campus library one day and I couldn't look away. When I found out we'd be sharing a room I was terrified, because I knew living with you would make everything harder. Why didn't you say anything? Because I'm supposed to be straight, I'm supposed to marry someone my father approves of, I'm supposed to be perfect. He took my hand, but I can't do this anymore, I can't pretend you don't matter. I liked you first, I confessed, long before that night. His eyes widened. Really? I nodded. He breathed out slowly, leaning closer. Then we've both been idiots. Our faces were inches apart now. Probably. Can I? But he didn't finish the question. He just leaned in. Our lips were almost touching when the door burst open. Surprise, we wanted to. Rui's mother stood frozen in the doorway, bags in hand. Behind her, his father's face turned purple with rage. We jumped apart, but it was too late. They'd seen everything. What is this? Rui's father roared, dropping their bags. Sir, I can explain, I started. You, he pointed at me with a shaking finger. This is your fault. Father, no. Rui stood between us. Get away from him, Jiang Rui. His father grabbed his arm, yanking him back. This is unacceptable, disgusting. I raised you better than this. You raised me to be a liar, Rui's voice cracked. You raised me to hate myself. His mother pressed a hand to her mouth, tears streaming. Baby, this is just a phase, you're confused. I'm not confused, Rui shouted. He never shouted. I'm not straight, mother, I never have been. I've been pretending my whole life because you wanted me to. Don't say that, she whispered. It's true, May knows it, I know it, and I'm tired of pretending. His father's face was stone. If you continue this weakness, you are no longer my son. Then I guess I'm not your son. The silence that followed was deafening. His father turned to me. Pack your things, leave now, never see my son again. I looked at Rui, expecting him to stay silent, to choose his family, to let me go, but he surprised us all. I started gathering my things, hands shaking. This was it, the end of whatever we'd been building. Rui would choose his family, of course he would. I'd never expected anything different. When stop, Rui's voice was quiet but firm. Your father said, I don't care what he said. Rui turned to face his parents and I saw something I'd never seen before, certainty. You want to know the truth? I've loved Wen since before we were roommates. Every fight, every moment of distance, it was me trying to protect him from you, from the life you wanted to force on me. Rui, his mother sobbed. You don't mean that. I do, I've never meant anything more. He crossed the room and took my hand right there in front of them. His grip was tight, anchoring. If family means losing him, if it means going back to being your perfect puppet, if it means pretending I'm someone I'm not, then I choose him. His father's voice was ice. You'll regret this, maybe, but I'll regret losing him more. Rui looked at me and his eyes were clear. I'm done running, his mother cried. His father stood rigid for a moment, then turned and walked out. She followed, casting one last heartbroken look at her son. The door closed, we were alone, and Rui didn't let go of my hand. Are you sure about this? I whispered. He pulled me close, pressed his forehead to mine. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Then he kissed me. Really kissed me, and it felt like coming home.